Hello Italian learners, this is Mila and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, let's talk about the Italian present tense. Italian present tense correspond to English as the simple present tense or the present progressive tense. In Italian, we called also this one Italian present indicative. Indicative means to express facts. In Italian, presente indicativo. Now, let's take a look of this some list of the verbs here. We have cucinare, piangere, bere, nuotare, camminare, scrivere, sedersi, parlare, guidare, mangiare, saltare, pulire, dipingere, lavare, tagliare, ballare, correre, cantare, dormire, leggere, chiamare, lavorare, sognare e pensare. So, if you notice that verb either ends with are, ere, and some other is ire. So actually, this form, we call this one infinitive form of the verb. So if you see the verb in Italian ends with are, ere, ire, and also there are some that ends with ersi, arsi, irsi, because they are in the form of infinitive. Like in English, to cook, to cry, to drink, to write, to drive, to sing, to think, to read, to eat, to dance, to call, and to sleep. So actually in English, we have to put to before the verb, while in Italian, the verb will end either are, ere, and ire. So we will find the endings of the verb are, ere, and ire. So this is what we call in Italian il verbo infinitivo. Il verbo infinitivo in Italian are groups into three. The group are, ere, and ire means that all those verbs that ends with are, like parlare, cantare, chiamare, camminare, cucinare, amare, they belong to this first group of the verb are. And then we have the group of ere. So all those verbs that ends with ere, like leggere, cadere, chiudere, credere, prendere, mettere, they are belong to this group ere. And then we have the last group ire, means that all those verbs that ends with ire belong to this group, like the verb aprire, dormire, pulire, finire, sentire, partire. So, why is it that I am telling you this, that the verbs in Italian are grouped into three? It's because to form the present tense in Italian, we have to find the stem of the word. So what is the stem of the word? Let's take, for example, the first group of the verb are, the verb parlare. So we have the verb parlare. If we want to find the stem of this word, we have to take the are, and the remaining word is the stem. So the stem of parlare is par. And then for prendere, drop the ere and the remaining word is the stem of the word, that is prend. Then partire, again we have to drop the ire, and then the remaining word is what we call the stem of the word or the verb. So after dropping the endings are, ere, and ire, we have to add the suffix. For the group of the verb are, we have to add the suffix o for the first person singular, e for the second person singular, a for the third person singular, and iamo for the first person plural, ate for the second person plural, and ano for the third person plural. And then for the group of the verb ere, drop the ere, and then we have to add the suffix o for the first person singular, e for the second person singular, and e for the third person singular, iamo for the first person plural, ete for the second person plural, ono for the third person plural. Then lastly, we have the ire. So we have to drop the ire and add the suffix for the first person singular o, second person singular e, third person singular e, and the first person plural iamo, second person plural ite, and the third person plural ono. Then later I will explain to you that for the group of ire, there are some verbs that follow more or less another pattern. Let's see it later. Now, let's take, for example, the verb lavare, means to wash. So, the first thing that we're going to do is to drop the are, and then we have the stem of the verb lab for the verb lavare. And then we have to add the suffix o, i, a, iamo, ate, ano. And then we have the result of io lavo, that means I wash. Tu lavi, you wash. Remember that in Italian, tu is refer only for the second person singular. Unlike in English, we have you for both singular and plural. Then, lui, lei, lava. He, she washes. Noi laviamo, we wash. Voi lavate, you wash. Loro lavano, they wash. Then, let's go to another example. We have the verb cantare, mangiare, camminare. So the same thing, drop the are and add the suffix. So, I sing, io canto, tu canti, lui, lei canta, noi cantiamo, voi cantate, loro cantano. For the verb mangiare, drop the are and it will become io mangio, I eat, tu mangi, you eat, lui, lei mangia, she or he eats, noi mangiamo, we eat, voi mangiate, you eat, loro mangiano, they eat. Camminare, drop the are and add the suffix. I walk, io cammino, tu cammini, lui, lei cammina, noi camminiamo, voi camminate, loro camminano. Then, let's go to the second group of the verb ere. And let's take an example, the verb scrivere, that means to write. So, drop the ere and your stem is scrib. Add the suffix. Suffix in Italian is desinenza. Add the suffix o, i, iamo, ete, ono. And the result is this. I write, io scrivo, you write, tu scrivi, Lui, lei scrive, he, she writes. Noi scriviamo, we write. Voi scrivete, you write. Loro scrivono, they write. Let's see some other examples. Leggere, to read. Correre, to run. Dipingere, to paint. So leggere, io leggo, tu leggi, lui, lei legge, noi leggiamo, voi leggete, loro leggono. Correre, to run. Io corro, means I run, to corre. Lui, lei corre, noi corriamo, voi correte, loro corrono. The third one, dipingere, to paint. I paint, so io dipingo, tu dipingi, lui, lei dipinge, noi dipingiamo, voi dipingete, loro dipingono. Let's go to the third group, the conjugation of the verb ire. Let's take as an example the verb dormire, that means to sleep. So first drop the ire and we have the stem, that is dorm. Add the suffix and our result is io dormo, I sleep. Tu dormi, lui, lei dorme, noi dormiamo, voi dormite, loro dormono. Some other example, we have aprire, partire, and sentire. Aprire, io apro, tu apri, lui, lei apre, noi apriamo, voi aprite, loro aprono. Partire, to leave, io parto, tu parti, lui, lei parte, noi partiamo, voi partite, loro partono. For the verb sentire, to hear, io sento, tu senti, lui, lei sente, noi sentiamo, voi sentite, loro sentono. So as what I said before, in the group of ire, we have another pattern for some other verb. There are some other verb that follow this pattern. So let's take, for example, the verb pulire, that means to clean. So also here we have to drop the ire, and then we have our stem, that is pul, and then we have to add the suffix. The suffix here is we have to add isc between the stem and then the suffix of ire. So we have isco, esci, esce, iamo, ite, iscono. And the result we have io pulisco, tu pulisci, lui, lei pulisce, noi puliamo, voi pulite, loro puliscono. Some other example, we have finire, that means to finish, spedire, to send, and obbedire, to obey. Finire, again drop the ire and add the suffix, it will become io finisco, tu finisci, lui, lei finisce, noi finiamo, voi finite, loro finiscono. Spedire, io spedisco, tu spedisci, lui, lei spedisce, noi spediamo, voi spedite, loro spediscono. Obbedire, to obey, io obbedisco, tu obbedisci, lui, lei obbedisce, noi obbediamo, voi obbedite, loro obbediscono. Actually, if you want to ask me, so how do I know that the verb will follow this pattern or the other pattern? Actually, there is no technique to know them. But you have to learn them by heart. And anyway, if you master the language, all this will come automatically. And the other thing that I want to tell you that this rule is only for all the regular verb in Italian. Like also in English, we have the regular and irregular verb. So this rule or this pattern that I am giving you today is only for all the regular verb in Italian. So for all those verbs that belongs to the group of are, that they are regular verb. For all those verb that belongs to the group of ere, but they are regular verb. And all those verb that belongs to the group ire, but they are regular verb. So they follow this rule or this pattern that I am telling you now. Okay? So last question that you want to ask me is that how do I know if the verb is regular or irregular? Also this one, there's no technique to know them. You have to learn them by heart. Anyway, little by little, we have to know also the most common irregular verb. So I know that this rule or this pattern or this kind of learning the verb or the present or the conjugation of the present tense in Italian is not so easy for those who are English-speaking people, because we are used to in English that, for example, we will take the verb parlare, that is to speak. If we want to say I speak, we only repeat the verb. I speak, you speak, she speaks. Okay, unless if we talk about the singular and the plural, like she speaks, we have to add a s. But in Italian, all this will change. And also another thing that I want to teach you, that in Italian, if I will say, for example, io parlo or only parlo, it is already understood that I am saying I speak. What I want to say here is that in Italian, if we drop our subject pronouns, that in English we have I, you, he, she, etc. In Italian, we have io, tu, lui, lei, noi, voi, loro. If we drop this one, or we don't use anymore this one, and we have only to say parlo, parli, parla, parliamo, parlate, parlano, people can understand you. And if you are already starting, for example, reading books in Italian, you will notice that we are not always using the subject pronouns, because the subject pronouns is already here inside a verb. Okay, if you want to look for the subject, look it inside your verb. So if you know that this one is the suffix of the first person singular, so you know that your subject here is I. Okay. In Italian, we only repeat the subject if we want to emphasize or change the subject. Okay. I know at this moment it is very difficult for you to understand this because you are still starting, you are a beginner. But don't worry. So if you want to repeat again this lesson, just watch this video over and over again. So, bye for now and hope to see you soon. Grazie e arrivederci.